Hey guys, welcome back to BWNAV Politics Watch. So yesterday, if you call my Politics Watch, I indicated that we would be expecting some big news in the Bob Mueller investigation since he requested a 10-day extension in his status report. So we all assumed that maybe he didn't want to spoil any kind of surprise indictments that were coming, but it turns out Paul Manafort was being uncooperative in the sense of being untruthful with the special counsel. And so the delay was to basically, I don't know if they wanted to wrangle some things and try to get him to get with the program, or if they just didn't want to tip their hand that Paul Manafort was being untruthful and that they knew that he was being untruthful. And that is what's really important because we don't know who he was communicating with. And so if somebody like, say, Trump, who was in the process of submitting his questions or written answers, knew that the special counsel knew Paul Manafort was being untruthful, that might have influenced what kind of answers he put down or his willingness to even submit answers. So yesterday we were all shocked. Anybody that was following it was shocked to see that Bob Mueller's filing was that Paul Manafort had breached his plea agreement by lying multiple times, and they said committing crimes. And so it's unclear whether the crimes were perjury by lying or if it was something a little bit more sinister like witness tampering, which he had already been accused of doing in the Eastern District of Virginia. So we're going to get more information about that as Bob Mueller promised to provide information to the court, which would be a public filing or potentially public filing, and the probation office, which we wouldn't see, about the kinds of crimes and lies, that's a quote from Bob Mueller, that Paul Manafort was engaging in with the special prosecutor. So the question is, our special counsel, why in the hell would Paul Manafort sign a plea agreement in which he had to forfeit $43 million, admit to all of his crimes, and expose himself to more legal jeopardy, only to turn around and lie? Who does that? So we have some theories. The first theory, which is probably the most likely one, is that he's just a liar. He's a crook and a liar, and he's been doing it his entire life, and he just can't freaking help himself. You know, maybe he just thought he was so clever, and he underestimated how much information Bob Mueller had, and so he thought he was just going to lie his way through it and just get a get-out-of-jail-free card. Obviously not. Another theory is that maybe he was, expecting a pardon. Maybe somebody had reached out to him, some kind of back channel, and indicated that if he just, stood strong, then, he would be pardoned later on down the line. So, I mean, that is a possibility. Trump has talked about pardoning, or he said that he hasn't ruled out pardoning. And I don't know if you guys would have remembered, but Trump never did come out and trash Paul Manafort like he did Michael Cohen and some of the other people that took plea deals. One other theory is that maybe he's just scared shitless to tell the truth. Maybe what he has to say, or maybe what he was being asked about, is something that he just does not feel safe revealing. I mean, since he has to talk about any and everything, it doesn't necessarily mean that he was lying about Trump specifically. I mean, he's had a lot of dealings with Russian and Ukrainian oligarchs, and so he owes a lot of money to a lot of people. So it could have been something more along those lines and less Trump related. But hopefully we'll find out soon. I don't know when Bob Mueller is going to file a sentencing report, but both him and Paul Manafort's legal team agreed to request relatively quick sentencing for all of the charges that Paul Manafort is up against. So, potentially Paul Manafort could get pardoned, but that does not prevent him from being brought up on state charges. So Paul Manafort is not out of the woods no matter what. I want to talk a little bit about 2020. So there are already more articles coming out, more editorials coming out. And one of the things that really bothers me and disturbs me is this whole anti-Southern primary attitude that's coming up. One of the things that people have mentioned, in particular white candidates have mentioned, is that the Southern primaries are going to be an issue. Why? Because the Southern primaries have a lot of black voters. And so Southern primaries really put President Obama, in the lead when it came to 2008. And so I think people are really shook about the idea of maybe a Senator Kamala Harris or a Senator Cory Booker running and getting the black vote and getting enough delegates to be competitive in the presidential nomination contest. And so, they should be shook, but I don't appreciate the way that they're going about it by trying to poo-poo the Southern primaries and the black voters. One of the things that turned me off completely from Bernie was how I perceived it to be his kind of like, well, Hillary could get the black voters, but I can get the white voters, and the white voters are what you really need. That's how I took a lot of his comments during the primaries in 2016. And so anytime that I see people kind of starting to make those arguments, and I'm seeing more and more that in particular from the progressive side. And I don't like it. You know why? Because you guys don't have a problem with black people voting 90+% for candidates. But when your favorite white candidate is disadvantaged as if you're entitled to a seat, and a black person is somehow, taking something away from you, which isn't the case, then all of a sudden it's a problem. Well, guess what? You got 2 years to win the black vote, okay? Because you're not just going to get it. So if you don't like that, then don't even damn run. How about that?